Okay, this is goal 2 in your notes. It is to find the surface area of prisms, pyramids, and cylinders. There's one main thing you have to remember when finding the surface area. To find the surface area of any 3D figure, you must find the area of each face, then add the face areas together. The main thing to remember is that you're just finding the area of every side of the three-dimensional shape. Then you're taking each face, each side, and then you're just adding them together. Remember, it is the surface area. It is the outside of that 3D figure. Like wrapping paper, we talked about wrapping Christmas gifts. It's just wrapping the box. How much wrapping paper do you need? Remember, you can pause and copy this down. The first one we're going to talk about is the rectangular prism. Just like in volume, we have the length, the width, and the height. Now, on a rectangular prism, you do know that there are 6 sides on a box. There are 6 faces on a box. So that means you have to find the area of every face on the box, then add all the faces together to find the surface area. So this is your formula. Surface area equals 2 times the length times width. The reason why there's a 2 there is because let's just start with the box. If you have the front of the box, the matching side is the back of the box. So front and back could be your first one. What I recommend is that you put a little F and then B, so you know that that's the front and back. Okay? So our front and back, our length is 7, and our width right here is 5. So 7 by 5. Now I'm going to put times 2 there because it's front and back. Then the next 2 times length times width, that is your left and right. So if it helps, put a little L and a little F there so you'll know that's your left and right sides. So your left and right side, so your length is 3, your width is 5. So it's a 3 by 5. And I'm going to put the times 2 there so that I'm recognizing it's left and right. The last part, 2 times length times width, that is your top and bottom. So put a little T and a little B so you'll know that's top and bottom. So on the top and bottom, your length is 7 and then your width is 3. So 7 times 3 times 2. Now, what you have to realize is that you're basically saying, what haven't I multiplied yet? If you look at all the combinations of numbers, 7 times 5, 3 times 5, 7 times 3, you're basically saying, okay, what haven't I multiplied yet? If you just take these 3 numbers and make sure that everything gets multiplied together in its own combination, then you won't leave anything out. Just know that you have 3 sets to multiply, and make sure you multiply all of them times 2. So I'm running out of room. I can't write my answer here, so I'm going to write the answers down here, but you can do it in your notebook correctly. 7 times 5 is 35. 35 times 2 is 70. 3 times 5 is 15. 15 times 2 is 30. 7 times 3 is 21. 21 times 2 is 42. And once we add all of them up, we're going to get 142. Now, as far as your units, this is area. Remember, area is always squared. Because remember, you're just multiplying length times width, then you're adding length times width, then you're adding length times width. All you're doing is adding. So it's not a cubed like volume. It's area, so it is squared. So your answer is 142 inches squared. We're going to practice more of these in the classroom. Next, we're going to look at the surface area of a pyramid. And remember, you can pause at any time to get those notes copied. A pyramid. Now, a pyramid, we're going to have the same concept. You look at the amount of faces that you have, and then you add them together. Now, in this case, we have, you know the shape of a pyramid, you have a base, and then you have the 4 sides of the pyramid. In this case, our base is a square, and then you have your 4 sides of the pyramid. So your formula for a triangle is base times height divided by 2. Well, you have 4 triangles. So if you just get the area of one triangle and then multiply it times 4, then you've got most of the problem done. So 4 times the base of the triangle is 5. The height of the triangle is 8. And then we divide that by 2. Now, our length and width, that has to do with the bottom, your square that's on the bottom of that pyramid. So in this case, it's a square, so it's 5 times 5. You can do s squared if it's a square, or you can keep it simple at length times width. It's up to you. If it's a rectangle, then you have to use length times width. So we're just going to say 5 times 5. Now, 5 times 8 is 40. Half of 40 is 20. 20 times 4 is 80. Plus 5 times 5 is 25. So then we have our answer at 105. Remember, this is area, so it is feet squared. So remember, on a pyramid, you're taking your triangle, you're getting the area of one triangle, and you're multiplying it times 4 because there are 4 triangles just the same. If it's a square. Now, if it's a rectangle, you're going to have 2 different triangles. We'll practice that in class. Then you're adding your base, which is your length times width. Then once you add, make sure you have your area is squared. The last one we have is a cylinder. Remember, on your cylinder, it's a little bit different, but you're still following the same concept. Make sure you write down the formula. Remember, we're always going to still do formula, plug, chug. On your cylinder, you have 2 components here. You have your base, which is a circle, of course, but then you have the part that's wrapped around. If we were to unfold this, this would be a rectangle. The only difference is it's just been folded into a circle. It has a circle opening at the top and at the bottom. So, being that you have a circle at the top and a circle at the bottom, you notice we have our pi r squared there. That's our formula for the area of a circle. So you have 2 circles, so you have to multiply that circle times 2. You have the one on the top, you have the one on the bottom. Now, then we're going to add this part right here. This part has to do with the rectangular part. Now, the reason why you have a pi and a radius there is because this rectangle has been taken and it's been rounded. Anytime something is rounded, you're going to have to use pi in the formula and radius in the formula. So that's why it's been rounded, pi and radius is in there. The height, that's just how tall it is. Just like we did on volume, the height is just how tall it is. The reason why there's a 2 there is because when you fold that rectangle, there's an opening of a circle at the top, there's an opening of a circle at the bottom. So you have 2 circles that's shaped at the top and the bottom. So you have 2 times pi r and then times how tall it is, the height. So in this case, we're going to have 2 pi, your radius is 3, and that is squared, plus 2 pi, your radius is 3. All we're doing is formula, plug, chug. And then your height is 8. So 3 squared is 9. 9 squared is, that's 9. And then 9 times 2 is 18 pi. Plus 3 times 8 is 24. 24 plus 2 is 48 pi. Now, at this point, you could really put this in the calculator as is. You can really put this in the calculator as is. But sometimes on the EOG, they may ask you, or on any type of test, they may ask you the answer in terms of pi. And so I always want you to get down to the pi answer and then multiply times 3.14. But until then, let's go ahead, 18 plus 48, and that would be 66, I believe. All right, and that's 66 pi. Now, I'm going to multiply 66 times 3.14, and forgive me, I have to get a calculator. So once we multiply 66 times 3.14, we're going to get 207.24. And that's going to be meters squared because we're still dealing with surface area, and so an area is always squared. Remember, you can rewind, so you can write down all the notes, pause to get it down. We're going to practice more of this in class.